Hi everyone, let's begin. Harmonization with this session 100% going both ways. Wonderful. So let's take a moment, take a deeper look at the pattern of energy that's presenting itself to us today. So the first sensation that I feel in my body, the first texture that I'm noticing, is that there's an increased sensation in my belly at the area just below the belly button where fat most commonly accumulates even in really skinny people. The area that's hardest to lose, the pooch, is where I'm feeling this right now, right? I'm feeling vibrations in the pooch, as it were. So let's see if there's more that we need to know about that. Second textural sensation, both sides of my neck, goes up the upper traps here a little bit and into the neck in this area. So trapezius muscle specifically, trapezius muscle being related to the thalamus. So something in this situation being related to the thalamus on top of this pooch, right? The vibrational sensation in the belly fat specifically. Let's see here. Something locks in here. Tilting line moving through the body at an unusual angle, kind of up and out that way, so I can feel it piercing through an area that's in my left, just below my left lower rib cage, so an area in the back that I would think of as being the QL, so off to the left side of your lumbar spine a little bit, and it comes out the area of my chest here, right in the center of my chest, so it's like it's piercing through a diagonal line that goes slightly off towards that right side, but the other side is pointing down into the left. So is the direction really relevant? No, so the direction isn't really relevant. I'm just pointing it out to you to see, can you feel it too, right? So a tilting line, representative of emotions likely to do with the thalamus in this situation. Thalamus most commonly to do with overstimulation, but that's not what we're working with today. Interesting. So secondary emotion, less common, but does come up. Impatience in the thalamus. Okay, so something about being impatient in a situation, new textural sensation popping up. The sensation in my neck is getting more specific. I'm feeling it off to the right side at the base of my neck, specific vertebrae. So let's go T1, T2, something at the level of T2, something to do with the heart, something to do with the heart meridian. Heart meridian and T2 tend to be correlated with one another. So let's see, the nerves that exit between, I believe, T1 and T2, it may be T2 and T3, don't call me on that, but the nerves associated with the vertebrae T2 funnel into the heart. Okay? Let's look at second tilting line. I feel it in my face. Runs through this area of my forehead and this bottom area of my cheek here. So a tilting line going that way. The other one intersecting in this strange upward direction that way, right? So impatience associated with an emotion in the heart meridian. Heart meridian can be a few different things. I'm not feeling the most common ones right now. I'm not noticing the harmonic vibrational textures of the emotions that I would typically associate with the ones most common with the heart. So let's look into some less common things here. Let's say self-sabotage. That's interesting. So self-sabotage is coming up here, and I'm feeling it kind of tune in a little bit more off to the right side, left side here. So let's talk about, I'm feeling this over an area of the heart that you use to listen to someone's heartbeat, right? We have typically we have 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas that we auscultate the heart when we use a stethoscope, right? You have your pulmonary valve, your aortic valve, your mitral valve, and your tricuspid valve, and there's a point in between those called Erb's point that we typically listen to. Right now, an increased textural sensation over where I would typically listen to the pulmonary valve, the aortic valve. Pulmonary would be on the other side, so somewhere where I would typically think of listening to the aortic valve came to mind when I'm thinking about this emotion of self-sabotage specifically. So let's go with, find those lines here. this actually causes more stimulation at the back of my skull, and it causes my traps to get more tight in sensation. So this tilting line, which I'm feeling associated with that aortic point that we talked about earlier, seems to be associated to the overstimulation. Yeah, okay. So then this other line here, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Causes a squeezing, kind of a ringing, screeching sort of sensation when I pay attention to this one, having to do with self-sabotage and the heart meridian. It also really increases that discomfort at the base of my neck, a couple of steps down, the T2 vertebrae. I'm feeling that, feel like it's getting compressed, like someone's squishing down on the top of my head, and I'm feeling it squeeze together, come together at just that point below the base of my neck. So these two patterns, but they're not doing anything. They're stuck, they're not moving. So there's something more that we need to know about this. So let's go to Garcia Ennergetics. So no issue with us towards the energy. How about the energy towards us? No issue there either. So let's look into different categories outside of Garcia Ennergetics. These are something that I've been looking into on my own time. We go something metaphysical going on, but we need more information about that. Okay. Something to do with witchcraft. Something to do with witchcraft in an area, which is specific subconscious intent that is directed towards moving towards a specific outcome being achieved, usually to do with another person or a specific situation. I'm trying to manipulate an outcome here, usually not for the betterment of a situation. There is white witchcraft. There are situations where this can be used for the benefit of the individual that it's been cast upon, but when it shows up in these categories, and when we're looking to resolve things in the collective unconscious, if something is coming up to the surface, you can assume that it's likely a negatively impacting pattern, and that it's looking to be lifted off, right? This is coming up to the surface like scum coming up from the bottom of a pond, and it's looking to be swept off the top. It's looking to have a little bit more clarity in the pool of water that's available. So this scum is coming up to the top for us to sweep it off, in this case related to witchcraft. So let's look into different categories of witchcraft that could be going on right now. So hex is coming up, which is something that's you can think of it similarly to a spell, right? So we have curse, we have hex, and we have spell. Those are three different grades of witchcraft. There are many more, but these are common areas that we can think of for distinction. So let's think about what's the difference between these things. A curse is something that anyone can do. It takes little to no preparation. It is me sending negative intent of wishing something negative to happen to someone, specifically stating I have the power to create something negative towards someone, and because I have that belief in my subconscious, it becomes a strong anchor, and I essentially force them to hold that anchor because there's something within them that believes that that thing is either true or that they're deserving of a negative outcome in a situation, right? For curses, spells, or hex to work, there has to be something within you that resonates with that thing being something that you feel like you deserve in a situation, which is why it's important that we work on emotional patterns too. We are not conscious of all of our emotional patterns. There's no possible way that you could be conscious of all of your emotional patterns that you've been developing throughout your entire lifetime, and that your ancestors have passed down to you as well. It's an infinite array of potential different crisscrossing patterns that may or may not be beneficial, which is why when we show up to these sessions, we get one imbalance at a time, because there are so many different infinite patterns that are coming up at once. I have no idea what I could possibly need to look for, but if I can tune in, come to second attention, and I can notice that my attention goes somewhere to a pattern that's coming up, a pattern that is available, a flow of information that seems effortless, that I just show up and I hop into, and I'm riding the wave, and this stuff, these words come out of my mouth, and these changes occur in my body, in the way that I feel. I can assume that's because my psychic immune system, as it were, is directing me towards the neurological pathway that is relevant to do with whatever the background thing is right now that my brain has decided is an obstacle it is ready to overcome, right? In this case, we're talking about emotional patterns, but emotional patterns are attached to external things often. In this case, a metaphysical imbalance to do with witchcraft, a curse, something that someone sets on someone else that takes little to no setup. I'm just cursing that individual. I'm just saying, screw you, right? That sort of a thing, but with a directed negative intent. A hex is like that with a little bit more preparation. It's saying, let me put together these mental steps. I'm having a little ritual in my mind. I'm making sure that my thoughts are set up in just the right way. I'm praying to this deity, whatever it may be. And I'm doing it in a moment of increased emotional dissonance with this individual. This individual, for whatever reason, rubbed me the wrong way. They pissed me off. And now in this moment of increased emotional state of me being angry at this person, I'm calling upon my God to bring wrath upon them. That would be a hex, right? Something that I did without having a whole lot of conscious background intent behind it. It wasn't premeditated. I'm just angry and I'm unleashing my subconscious intent towards someone else. That's a hex. Versus a spell, something that you need to really set up over time. The ingredients need to be put together one at a time until you can create this usually much more difficult to deal with complex pattern that you then throw at someone, and they usually don't even notice that something has been put on them. If you aren't psychically sensitive, energetically sensitive, you may not notice these things anyway. You may just start running into situations where it's like, oh wow, my luck has been terrible for the past 5 years, or man, that thing that happened, that bad day that happened to me 6 years ago, all of a sudden I started being more of a dick, and it hasn't changed since that bad day. What's that about? That's because someone put something in your field that's ringing with the vibrations inside of you that you don't like, that you haven't been able to process yet. In this case, self-sabotage and being impatient about something. There's something in our field around us that's ringing. It's vibrating. It's vibrating at the specific rate of emotions within me that I have not processed, to do with self-sabotage and to do with impatience. This is something in me as well. We're working with a collective pattern. I can work with this because I'm connected to it too. So this thing in our field that's ringing at that degree causes amplification of these two emotional states. It's ringing at that level so that these get louder, they get bigger, easier to notice, more impactful towards my conscious experience, which means two things. One, it means that these emotions are the target of that witchcraft and they are a source of suffering in my conscious experience. It also means that in another sense, this witchcraft is an opportunity for me to be able to process the gunk that I haven't been looking at, because it amplifies it to the point where it becomes more difficult for me to ignore that something is going on. So in a sense, you can think of these as opportunities. Yes, someone in your life was a dick and they threw this junk at you, but also they threw this junk at a weak point for you, which means they're also giving you the opportunity to notice and work on your weak points if you know how to do that, right? So let's work on how can we do that? How can we work with these emotional patterns? Tuning back in, second attention. Something more that we need to know about this hex, so there's something else going on here. Something in a shamanic category. So distortion within the field. So this thing is creating an opening. You can think of it like your aura is constituted of two different layers. You have the heart field, which is the inner layer. It moves in this direction, it spins to the right around your body, and you have the auric field outside of that, which spins to the opposite way. Right? We have these two counter-rotating fields. I would look into the book The Physics of Miracles by Dr. Richard Bartlett if you're interested in that. Also the tilting lines earlier, psycho-emotional energetics, another concept by Dr. Richard Bartlett. I would look into the seminars MED or In Deep if you're interested in those concepts specifically. Not everything that I do is surrounded by those techniques, but they lay a good foundation for being able to discover new things. So let's keep going here. So distortion within the field caused by this witchcraft. This witchcraft created a hole in the aspect of my, not my heart field, but in the aspect of my aura. So there's a hole in my aura somewhere around my body. Let's find it. Okay, so it's behind and off to the left side back here, having to do with these emotions. A hole has been ripped open, leading to more sensitivity in certain areas of my life. When it comes to these things of self-sabotage, and when it comes to these things of impatience, I don't have the ability to guard myself from external things, making this a much bigger deal, making these emotional experiences much bigger and spinning out of control when these things come up within my conscious awareness. I can't get out of the thought loop when I get into a situation where self-sabotage seems to occur, when I put myself in the situation that I realistically attracted to myself because I haven't been able to process these emotions, and self-sabotage seems to occur, it appears to occur, which is happening for a reason, but I don't know that in the moment. I can't get out of the negative thought loop of all the things that are wrong with me in that situation. I'm impatient towards myself being able to change into the thing that I keep trying to go into and grow into. I want to be better, I want to grow, and it's not changing. And what's wrong with me? And why do I keep self-sabotaging anything? And blah, 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 all that nonsense, right? All of this is an opportunity for you to move past the emotional state, right? You can do energy work, you can do things like this, or you can just sit in silence for a full hour and do absolutely nothing, and you'll notice that emotions will peak, and then they will end, and it will be very uncomfortable. But if you can ride through that whole wave, then you can process the emotions that are underlying these other things that are impacting you attached to your emotions, and then your energy, your psychic immune system, again, heals itself, because that's what the body does, that's what the energy does. It's a self-healing apparatus. It only doesn't do that, and it only gets stuck when we are unable to move through the natural biological processes that we are supposed to be moving through. One of those things, this example of those things, is feeling your feelings to their fullest extent, which we have been taught in our society not to do. But it's actually very important that you do. It's actually very important that you do in order to get all this other gunk off of you. So, let's keep moving here. Let's keep moving with that distortion in the field that's allowing other people's energy to influence us a bit more in these situations as well. So let's work with something more that we need to know. Okay, so where do we want to begin then? Do we want to begin with the emotions? Do we want to begin with the whole? Okay, so not the witchcraft, but the whole itself. So let's work with the witchcraft led to the hole. It is not leaving the hole open. So if I knew how to seal this distortion within the energy field, what would I do? And it's like a zipper. Ooh. Easy peasy. That creates a new sensation across the cheekbone and the eyelid here. Same tilting line as before, I just don't feel it over here anymore. It's just now very intense around this area of my eye, and it's still that diagonal line. Still the other one here as well, so there's something more that we need to work with. Now we're at the witchcraft at this moment in time. Is there more that we need to know about this hex? Can this hex be relieved from our energy at this time? Wonderful. If I knew what to do in order to relieve, dispel this hex over our collective energy at this time, what would I do? Slow moving current. It feels like my body is inside of a tub of maple syrup, and it's got slow currents that I'm feeling around my neck, around my hands, around my spine. And down below between my feet, I'm seeing a drain plug. As I grab it, I feel an increased textural sensation in my right leg. near the ankle. Bladder emotion, I'm scared. I'm feeling fear. Pulling the drain. The syrup is slowly draining away. I don't feel it encompassing my head anymore. I don't feel it encompassing my torso anymore. I don't feel it encompassing my legs anymore. It's fully drained. And it's like I'm exposed to air for the first time in a long time. All of my skin feels like it's still kind of drenched in syrup, and it's a little bit sensitive. There's something more that we need to do here. There's still something more that's coming. I need to stop talking. My whole body is ignited in white flames with little rainbow flecks throughout it. Smoking. Like a tiki, where they have the oil burn, and it's that black smoke. Oh. Okay. Is this witchcraft still present over our energy? Are these emotions still present within our energy? Is this emotion of self-sabotage still present within our energy? Is this emotion of impatience still present within our energy? Is there anything more that we need to know? Okay, so I believe that's all that I have for you. I hope that it was beneficial, and I will see you next time.